Okay. All right, this is the end of week 4 of the 2026 legislative session. As I mentioned last week, the sub-appropriation committees have wrapped up. It's now going to come to the executive appropriation committees, and so we will look at all the budget recommendations from the state agencies. We'll look at the requests for appropriations that go out to help with solving various problems throughout our state, and we will get a balanced budget by the end of this session. So with a lot of the sub-appropriation work wrapping up, we are moving on to a lot of policy issues and primarily focusing on that. One policy that I've heard a lot about from constituents is property tax. So I think it's important to note that Utah, different than a lot of other states, does not really have any revenue at the state level from property tax. We have a little portion of your property tax that's levied, called the state basic minimum levy, that goes to education, but that is exclusively for education. And so we hear a lot about the concern of property tax, and there's levers that we can try to pull here at the state level, but largely those are done at the local level. 70% of your property tax goes to schools, the counties in there, the cities and other service districts are in there. And so they all will have to go through truth and taxation to increase those property tax amounts. And that's all done at the local level. Nevertheless, because we hear from constituents, we're trying to figure out what can we do at the state level to help ease the burden on property tax. There was a bill that was proposed that would cap the amount that any one local entity can raise property tax. But as we've dug into that causes problems at the local level. First off, it's a little authoritarian coming from the state and doesn't defer to local control. Second, it can greatly impact bonding, and a lot of these local entities, including the county and the cities, may already have bonding obligations where that revenue is obligated to that. And so if we dictate that too much here, it can mess up some of that local funding. So there's other things we looked at about raising the residential exemption. That's constitutional, so we'd have to do that by resolution and then it would go before the people on a ballot. The question with that is, does it raise prices elsewhere, and do we just rebalance that property tax to where commercial and retail pick up more of that, and then that gets passed on in groceries and in other consumer goods? And so it gets tricky, but those are the conversations we're having up here. I have a bill that has got a little publicity. It may not play as much in the public, but up here it's a big deal right now between a bunch of interest groups and lobbyists fighting over this bill. It's SB 211, and it deals with tort liability. The reason I took this up is because our Supreme Court issued an opinion in October that flipped on its head what's called the collateral source rule. And whether people agree with that decision or not, my position is that, as policymakers, the voice of the people through their representatives should be making those policy decisions. So I opened the bill file so that we could have the policy discussion on here and determine whether the Supreme Court did the right thing or whether we need to create a different policy or add some nuance to the policy. And so we're working on that, and it's getting a lot of play up here. And if you're interested in it, I'm happy to talk to you about it. Anyways, feel free to give me a call, text, or come up to the Capitol. Be happy to see you.